Greetings, tourists, and welcome to another deck report. This is season 4, week 16, and I have a really cool deck I want to showcase today. It's nothing out of the ordinary if you really think about it, but I did make a very unique spin out of something I've showed in the past, and I'm actually really happy with the results that I've had. So I didn't go to locals this week, but I did a lot of offline testing. I tested with a lot of duelists from my team, EJ Gaming. I tested with a lot of other people offline and online in Dueling Book and stuff. And this is a really cool deck. So without further ado, let me showcase it. So this is Maliss, but you will see that it's a little bit different from what I used to show in the channel. So 3 Dormouse, 3 Rabbit, 1 Cat, 1 Dotscaper. The newest addition to the deck is 3 Engravers, Lacrima and Lurie. We're still on the Bystials, so Lobelion, Magna, Druis, and Voldrake. And as opposed to many Fiendsmith Maliss lists that you've been seeing around, I integrated 11 dangers. And if you've been tuning into this channel, you already know that dangers are nothing new. I've been showcasing and testing out dangers like for the longest time. I will talk about this a little bit more because I think the dynamic of this build is very different from the typical Maliss Fiendsmith deck. 3 Underground, 3 Talents, 2 Enemy Controllers, Branded Regained, Gold Sark, Fiendsmith Tract. And for the trap cards, we got the Paradise and the 3 Maliss trap cards. That's it for the main deck. It's 45 cards. Extra deck. Link Decoder, Lizardos, IP, SP, Nightmare Griffin, Moon, which turns into Requiem into sequence. You have the Desiree, you have the 3 Maliss Queens, you have Access Code Talker, Abalaku, and Nightmare Griffin. So, where do we begin? So, this is Maliss Fiendsmith. If you've been tuning in to a lot of regionals and been seeing a lot of YCSs and stuff in the past month or so, you've already know that Pack and Triff, as well as a few others, like popularized the Fiendsmith version of Maliss. I did make a video talking about the Fiendsmith cards in the EJ Gaming channel. That might be posted very soon there. And I also did a past deck report involving the Fiendsmith cards, and I really underestimated the power behind these cards. I really thought that you could play well without these, but with the environment of the format and how the decks are being constructed right now, and with so many main deck counters well, not main deck, but like a few counters to Maliss that are already popularized, it just makes thematically good sense to play this engine. So, what do the dangers provide for Fiendsmith that it does not provide in other decks? Well, the really cool thing about the dangers is they give you the ability to play and extend through your opponent's plays without your normal summon. And that is a very big deal, because if you looked at Maliss in the past, you'd known how very reliant on its normal summon this deck is, involving Dormouse and involving like other cards. The dangers just makes it very streamlined. It makes it so you could play through boards. The Fiendsmith engine is already good into hand traps and is already good into interactions to distract your opponent. Imagine if you just have 11 more cards that just do the same thing as your danger, as your Fiendsmith cards. Another really cool reason why you play the dangers is any 2 dangers makes Close Moon, which means you can pivot into your Fiendsmith engine without wasting your Maliss summons, which is another really big deal. If you played the Maliss Fiendsmith deck in the past, you already know that there is no real easy way for you to summon Desiree if you are link locked into your Maliss cards. The Dangers just makes it easier for you to make the Desiree play before you go through your Maliss lines. I really wish I would play Desiree in this list, but I just don't have the room. Another really cool thing about the Fiendsmith engine is that it makes Abawakut a lot easier. It synergizes well with Nightmare Griffin as well, because Nightmare Griffin can like bridge into Close Moon. Well, my bad, not into Close Moon, into Requiem. It also makes more layers of interaction against your opponent besides the typical interactions you would see in your typical Malice boards. Just having the Lacrima Paradise play be part of your interruptions, as well as your typical interruptions with 06 and with IP and with Cryptor, is really strong because it just gives another thing for your opponent to worry about. So yeah, like I really like this concept. I really like the list. Sadly, I don't have replays because like I tried to like record this replay of this duel that I had against Vintage Hero, but it just got bugged and it doesn't show properly. But I did take a screenshot of one M-board that he did while I was testing the deck. And this is what happened after I resolved the Tsushinoko. Look at this board. Like, that board that you just saw with all these negates, it got shattered because of all my interactions. And this was not possible without the Dangers. It's very similar to how people play hand traps to just interact with your opponent and soften their end boards. You just use your Dangers to just create and amass a lot of card advantage. They just distract your opponent's interruptions, and then you just go in and play with your Malice cards. One other card that makes this interaction possible and makes it a lot easier for us is Nightmare Phoenix. So I am not playing Necroquip. If you noticed from my list, a lot of the Maliss Fiendsmith decks are playing the Necroquip Princess. I think Necroquip Princess is just a very Whitmore card. It does conflict with your Malice engine as well. You're not playing Caesar as well, so getting the +1 of Necroquip is kind of nice, but if you're not getting anything else out of it, there's really no point. So I just decided to go for utility, and Nightmare Griffin is just a really good card for that utility aspect. Nightmare Griffin can also bridge you into Abaku. You can go into Close Moon after you go Nightmare Phoenix. Nightmare Phoenix is just another attribute for Access Code Talker, and that's another really cool thing about this version. Prior to this list, the only light attribute fiend that we had, or Link monster, was Nightmare Griffin. Now you have a few other more. So you can, like, for example, use your Sequence or use Close Moon as like Link fodder to pop with Access Code Talker. So that's another really big deal. Another really cool thing to bring up when it comes to the Dangers, they synergize well with Fiendsmith Tract, they synergize well with the Dotscaper, and they synergize well with the Lurie. I've had games where I resolved this Fiendsmith Lurie 3 times. If it's discarded off a danger, you turn it into Requiem. Requiem into Alacrum into Engraver, you put this back into your deck. And if you end up drawing it again, like, you can just pitch it for another danger, or pitch it for Nightmare Griffin, or pitch it for, like, a few other, like, a Balaku, and this just resummons again, and it's another free body again. This also is a material for sequence. This is also, like, a really good link material for SP Little Knight. And that's another really cool thing about this deck. You can use your Fiendsmith engine to baiting your opponent into making the SP, and use your SP as part of your interruption against their board. And I've done that a couple times. Like, you just turn your monsters into, like, the Requiem, and a lot of people just hold their interactions for after the Requiem resolves. So you punish them by linking away the Requiem into SP, which is really, really strong. So yeah, I do encourage you to try out the dangers alongside the Fiendsmith cards. I think it doesn't really have to be Maliss specifically. It could be on any deck, like, for example, the Thunder Dragon deck, or like any other deck that historically has played this in the past, like Orcust and Lunalight. Like, this combination is just really, really powerful. Other things that I'm doing that are not typical to the Fiendsmith deck is I am maxing out on Rabbit. Not only am I maxing out on the Rabbit, I'm also playing TB11. So the reasoning behind this is, and I guess I can talk about Duskkeeper while we're at it, because Duskkeeper fulfills the same purpose. If you play the minimalistic Maliss engine, your only one card starter in your entire Maliss portion is the Dormouse. I don't want to talk about like Underground as being a potential one-card starter, because this exhausts both the Dormouse and whatever you're summoning of the Dormouse. So if you play Rabbit and you play 11, you can Rabbit, set 11 to banish and resummon the Rabbit, and use Rabbit and whatever you summoned, be it Cat or Dormouse, and turn this into the Fiendsmith line. 11 also really just pushes through your opponent's boards as well. You most often will like cite this out, but it makes your binder combos a lot stronger also. Like, it's not to say that this is correct, but I will say that if you are playing the Fiendsmith version, I did try it out with Rabbit and 11, and it's perfectly fine by my in my testing. I think that's it for the main deck. I think there's nothing else I need to talk about. Like, everything else is just streamlined. I think since we're not playing hand traps, you have to max out on this. I really like enemy controller in testing. I really liked enemy controller, like using your Fiendsmith cards. Something really cool about enemy controller is that if you're playing against a Fiendsmith-like deck, Fiendsmith strategy, you can take away like their Fiendsmith monsters and use them for your Fiendsmith combo. That did come up in testing once. But yeah, I think that's it for the main. Not else to talk about. Another reason why the dangers are really good is because you have way more cards outside of your main engine to play against Artifact Lancia. The other Fiendsmith Maliss version only has reliance on the Fiendsmith cards because they play a minimalistic engine of Maliss, but they have play the Bystial engine, and there are no real other extenders outside of like the actual Fiendsmith cards. So by playing the dangers, you can bridge into your Fiendsmith cards without needing to open any of your Fiendsmith cards, which is another reason I don't mind the deck being over 40. being 45 is perfectly fine, especially since I'm playing 11 dangers. You're pretty much shaving cards out of your deck each time you draw with them. So, suggestions for the side deck. I don't have a real side deck build because, again, I didn't go to locals this week. But one really cool thing that you can do in this deck is play Majesty Fiend. If you saw the Ritual Beast profile, you already know my explanation behind Majesty Fiend. In this version, this is a lot more stronger because with 11 dangers, you have so much tribute fodder for your Majesty Fiend. You can even full Maliss combo without your normal summon, and then pivot into the Majesty Fiend as part of your end board. And I don't think I need to explain how strong Majesty Fiend is against a lot of certain decks. You can put your opponent in a situation where they have to out the Majesty Fiend, and once they out this, they have to worry about all your other interactions, like example, the 07 and the Paradise. So yeah, that's something to take note if you're playing this engine. If you're very smart about it, you shouldn't have any issues. And as a reminder, this is a Light Fiend, so you can turn this into Requiem, and Requiem into full combo. So that's it for that. I'll talk about the Apophis engine as well. The dangers just enable you to summon Silhouette Rabbit very easily without your normal summon again, and this just bridges into this engine as well. So the combo that I showed last week with Ritual Beast, where you like cycle through your Fiendsmith and then your Apophis line, is also possible in this deck. And this is really cool because this is a searchable out. This is a searchable card that can beat the board breakers. Like, one issue with Maliss is that you don't have a real way to play around these cards once they like start resolving outside of the typical Solemn Judgments. For example, so by playing an engine in your deck that serves the same function as your Solemn Judgment, it's just really, really strong. Like, I really do encourage like this onto other players in the future. So yeah. Another side deck option that I thought about. This is nothing new. This is Metaltronus. We've already talked about Metaltronus in the past. But specifically, we're talking about Metaltronus with Underworld Goddess. So why Underworld Goddess? The really cool thing about Underworld Goddess in this deck is that Underworld Goddess has like 4 different functions in this deck, besides just being a Metaltronus target. This is a Light Fiend, so this can go into Requiem. That's a reminder. But not only that, with so many dangers being summoned very easily, you can pivot your dangers into Closed Moon, and you target a monster of your opponent with the Closed Moon, and then link your way Closed Moon into the Underworld Goddess. That is really, really strong. Like, you're essentially board breaking your opponent entirely with just these cards, without your normal summon, and that can come up. A lot of people, when they see Moon of the Closed Heaven, they will not think about her actual effect and her interaction for Underworld Goddess. Her being a light 3000 monster means you can use this to negate Detonator with the Metaltronus. If you end up summoning her, you can just Dark Ruler their entire board, and she's usually unaffected by untargeted effects. So you can't even Rigel cross this from the resolving if you're going against like the Razio board. Another really cool thing is like after if you end up summoning IP, you can IP into Goddess as well. like on your opponent's turn, and a lot of people won't see that play coming. And getting to the bodies for the Underworld Goddess is super easy. Like, you're just one binder summon away from getting there. And like, we're not just gonna talk about binder. We're going to talk about the Lacrima Paradise interaction as well. Like, between the summon of binder, the cards you banish with binder, and the Lacrima, you can fill up your entire board on your opponent's turn, which means IP into Goddess is just very, very possible. But yeah, that's the little experiment I've been doing for this week. I don't know if you guys already saw it, but we do have confirmation that some of the Fiendsmith cards got reprinted. So this version of the deck is going to be very affordable. All we're needing is the TCG Forbidden Limited list to tell us the fate behind this deck, because there is no guarantee that this version of the deck is going to be intact. But so far, out of all my lists that I've built with Maliss involved, this has been by far the most fun one I've had made, and is actually really good against the current format. So yeah, that's it from me. Until next time, keep practicing and keep dueling.